right. Lambo Sports featuring the big brother. He definitely does regret this pick, but I think as far as Colorado, me being wrong, I guess he's still in the leaderboard for the picks in college football. Definitely in the NFL. Once we talk about that later today, Alabama escapes Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin's officially 0-5 against Nick Saban, which is heartbreaking. Not a lot of teams or former assistants can beat Nick Saban except Kirby Smart and Jimbo Fisher, right? Um, this one, it was a boring game in the first half. I felt like Ole Miss came out, they scored first. Like touchdown wise, they scored first. With the mobility, I thought Jackson Dart was going to do something, but that Alabama defensive line did something great. I mentioned concerns that the Ole Miss offensive line needed some work, which it really did need some work. And Ole Miss always has a chance, and they blow it. Alabama, I think Jalen Milroe is the guy going forward, as Nick Saban is now on the Pat McAfee show every Thursday. His attitude is a lot better. He led with poise, especially against the South Florida game. He was cheering on his teammates. This is his team now, so we'll see what Alabama does. A lot of Alabama haters saying the dynasty is over after them losing to Texas because they're 2-1. Like, okay, we don't define the season in 3 games. All right, so a lot of football to be played. I understand. I think Alabama plays Texas A&M this week, so that's going to be a really big game. And I think Ole Miss plays LSU next week, so I don't know if Ole Miss will be LSU. I wouldn't pick that, but we'll figure that out in tomorrow's college football prediction. But Alabama always wins on running the ball and defense. And looking at Ole Miss, they did struggle to run the ball. They only rushed for 56 yards. And Alabama was able to rush for 131. So Jalen Milroe played his game. Like I said, he only had 4 incompletions, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. QBR was 64, 225 yards, and his throw is averaging at least 10 yards per throw, almost 11. So Alabama does what Alabama does. Go ahead and explain the rest of it and what's wrong with Ole Miss as they play a continuing tough schedule. And is Alabama back? Are you confident in Alabama going forward?
I'm very confident in their defense. Their defense played as well as they could last week, only allowing 3 points to USF, and the offense was what was shaky. You go into this game, it starts shaky, but the defense played great the entire game. They only allowed 56 rush yards, as you said. 1.9 yards a carry is perfect. They allowed obviously 0 throwing touchdowns. They forced an interception, and they had 5 sacks on Dart and 10 tackles for loss. So that's all you were saying really is the D line just imposed their will, and that's exactly what happened. They didn't really give them any breathing room to do anything. The offense actually played like an Alabama offense again. Obviously, you mentioned that 1 interception was not the prettiest to look at, but at the end of the day, he still threw it at 81% for 225 and a touchdown. Jace McClellan ran for 105 yards on 6.2 yards a carry and a touchdown. So the running game was the reason that they won offensively last week, and it continued into this game as being a major catalyst in them ultimately winning this game in the second half. And they completed the ball to 10 different receivers. So they spread it out. Like we talked about, they don't have a real standout number 1 this season, it doesn't seem like. So get it to as many guys as you can. I mean, 10 different receivers in the entire game. That's crazy. But it's what they needed to do to win. And it obviously was proven true. I don't know what Ole Miss is going to do for the rest of the year. I said it, before going into this prediction, I was, I don't know who Ole Miss is. I don't know what their identity is as a football team. And they had a couple impressive wins. And I was like, all right, maybe this is the week. Coming off a bad week for Alabama and coming off a good week for Ole Miss. And Obviously, I was wrong, so I'll take that one. But yeah, I mean, Ole Miss, Jackson Dart is just gonna, I don't know, have to take a step forward. I mean, he didn't play bad, but I mean, he was not good. So whatever that in between is where probably most quarterbacks in college are anyway. They're not great players, but they're not bad. That's why they're starting at D1. But yeah, I mean, barely above 50%, through the pick. And I don't want to blame the lack of yards on the ground completely on him because, like I said, he got sacked 5 times, but he had his 10-yard touchdown run, and that was really it for him on the ground for the rest of the day. He only had 6 yards and major part of that is the 5 sacks. But I don't know. I mean, you got to make something happen. Your offense is stalling. Can't really get anything going on the ground at all. And you've only got 2 wide receivers that you can actually go to consistently. I just wanted a little bit more on the ground from him. And I think if he can put that into his game more going forward, and it could have just been going against a great D-line. So I'm not going to just say based on this game, he's not good at it. But like you said, it's a difficult schedule going forward, and he's going to have to be really good in like a dual threat situation if they want to continue success the rest of the season.
Yeah, it does. But as far as Alabama, but Alabama has to be consistent. They can't have a slow start. Like I said, Alabama, my fault. They play Mississippi State and then they play Texas A&M. My apologies for being wrong with that one. I was so focused on that Jimbo, Nick Saban thing that they had last year that, the 12th man on the field, Kyle Field, there will be some excitement. They played Mississippi State, who, somewhat struggled against LSU, got blown out and whatnot. But Mississippi State is not a team that you want to sleep on. It's a road game. Rest in peace, Mike Leach, who passed away last year. Rest in peace to one of the great, air raid coaches, his staff under him as well. Mississippi State is not a team you want to sleep on. By the way, Dak Prescott did play for Mississippi State. To all you people that didn't know where Dak Prescott came from and all the other stuff, I think that's just great history to mention about. But Mississippi State is not a team you want to play with, despite them being 2-2. Like I said, it's at Mississippi State. It's an SEC showdown at 7:30, so anything could happen. Mississippi State has tested Alabama to their ability. I still believe Alabama can win, but like we both talked about Colorado, especially yourself, when you mentioned slow starts. Alabama cannot have a slow start against these tough teams coming out with Mississippi State and especially Texas A&M. Like these slow starts, we're not panicking. We're not saying it's the end of the world. But sometimes these slow starts don't really win you games in college football. Now, the NFL might be a little bit different, but in college football, especially with this high-power scoring offenses and adjustments that's been made in games, and now all of a sudden in college, you have all these college coaches that coach offense and all that stuff. You have Nick Saban as a defense coach. It's going to be really hard, to come back, especially you got a new offensive coordinator for Alabama, who is from Notre Dame. You have Jalen Milroe, who is still kind of learning the system. I think he knows all the plays, but I guess the playing field, the decision-making, the timing, he's still learning on that. So that's not going to be easy for him. Like I said, he got to stop the dumb interceptions. Like, everybody's going to throw an interception here and there, but the dumb interceptions is like, wait a minute. Like the 2 of them we saw against Texas is like, hold on. Y'all had a chance to beat Texas, but the interception. So he just got to make sure he doesn't have interceptions that cost him games. With Ole Miss, they play LSU. LSU was in a dogfight with Arkansas. We don't talk about them enough, but they was in a dogfight with Arkansas. And, I guess it was a 3-point game. I guess it was 34-31. It was in a dogfight. So I think this will be a dogfight as well till the end. But I think LSU is a better team, which I would predict that tomorrow. But like I said, Lane Kiffin's 0-5 against Nick Saban. It's hard to beat him. When you think you have him beat, you really don't have him beat. Like I said, Nick Saban's the mastermind. I think Alabama still has a chance to compete for the national championship as far as the college football playoff, but they cannot lose the rest of the way. They cannot lose. They can't lose. All right? So they got to beat Texas A&M. They got to beat Tennessee. They got to beat LSU. And you got to beat Auburn. Your rival Auburn at the end of the year. I understand Auburn doesn't have they're rebuilding, but you got to. The only way Alabama will get in the top 3, top 4, you have to win the rest of your games. If they lose one more game, they're out, and Alabama will be playing for the Sugar Bowl, just like last year against Kansas State. But next episode, we got to get into Virginia Tech, ladies and gentlemen, because I'm furious for Virginia Tech. All right, Marshall beat Virginia Tech for the first time since 1940. 1940, and the last win, I guess, when they played each other for Virginia Tech was 2018. I guess they beat them so bad, and I like the confidence of the quarterback. But we will both explain in the next episode how in the world does Virginia Tech fold to a team named Marshall. And they play Pittsburgh in Hokie Stadium, a primetime game, which I could go to if I could find some tickets. But I'm very concerned for Virginia Tech. And I'm not sure if I have any faith in them. But that will be represented in the next episode of Lambo's World of Sports.